I had no idea of how to do marriage, how to do a relationship, right? We go to college, we get a job, we find a woman that we jive with. Hopefully, we have kids, and then happily ever after, I guess. Disney movies aren't even that complicated. Her tiny shoe fits into the slipper, and that's the only requirement. That's the only requirement for an amazing life together, apparently. She says that I'm just supposed to love her for her. I want to be loved without having to be judged and these demands on me. Is unconditional love a real thing? And what about the marriage responsibilities? What about our life responsibilities together to bloom love, to meet one another, to practice love as an art? That's what we're going to talk about here today on the C Note Show. Myself, Jeff Allen, and Miss Cynthia Kruse, we've been hosting this for over 4 years now, and we love engaging with you on long-term relationship, how to love and lead with mojo like a king, how to learn the skills to offer her safety and inspiration and leadership. And yes, to understand what her responsibilities are in a relationship as well. Cynthia and I talk about that every week here on the C Note Show, and how to avoid mistakes and solve deep marriage problems. Last time we spoke about, do you deserve to have your needs met? Do you deserve that? So go back and watch that episode. Today, unconditional love. Is unconditional love real? And what about marriage responsibilities? What about my responsibilities as a man? What about her responsibilities in the marriage? Let's get into this. I'm assuming you know the three sides of the Stoic triangle, a huge piece of what we teach: virtue, control, and responsibility. Your masculine frame as a man, how to offer emotional safety, and how to lead into intimacy. These are the three levels of our private coaching, our one-on-one and group coaching in the Kingly Life Path. And we believe and we practice ourselves and in our teaching of level 3, deep conscious intimacy. We're going to get into that today too. So loving and being loved is an art. It's a skill. When I was a younger man, I had no idea of how to do marriage, how to do a relationship, right? We go to college, we get a job, we find a woman that we jive with. Hopefully, we have kids, and then happily ever after, I guess. And Disney movies aren't even that complicated, right? Where the prince just has to kiss her and she wakes up and they're in love and the curtains close, or her tiny shoe fits into the slipper, and that's the only requirement. That's the only requirement for an amazing life together, apparently. And to run the kingdom for the rest of time is that her tiny shoe fits in a glass slipper. Or you can speak to mice or whatever else Disney tries to tell us that we need as far as relationship. It sure as hell isn't, well, how do we engage in the sometimes what feels like hand-to-hand combat of life? Ernest Hemingway: the most painful thing is losing yourself in the process of loving someone too much and forgetting that you are special too. Author Dudinsky: you have to love yourself because no amount of love from others is sufficient to fill the yearning that your soul requires from you. Esther Perel, she's a world-renowned therapist: love is a verb, not a permanent state of enthusiasm. And finally, Miss Hepburn, Katharine Hepburn: love has nothing to do with what you are expecting to get, only with what you are expecting to give, which is everything. And we're going to talk about this right now because, yeah, we really do expect to get things from relationship, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. And through this work, I found this work 15 years ago personally, 10 years ago for relationship, because things were not going as expected. Every man that's here, every man that's watching this is probably here and watching this because relationship didn't just go as expected. It wasn't just autopilot. Everything wasn't perfect all along the way. So Miss Hepburn here, I agree and disagree. It does have to do with what we expect to get. And most often we're not conscious of that. And I agree that love and relationship and marriage specifically, is a place we go to give. We have to want to give. We have to want to practice the art of love in relationship, both of us. It's a place to grow that middle space. The relationship itself has to thrive with both of our feeding and nurturing and weeding the garden of life, of our relationship. It's not just going to happen automatically. And I thought in the past that if I just gave all my time and effort to my career, to making money, to showing up as a dad, to helping coach his t-ball and baseball for his entire childhood, that, yeah, that checked all those boxes, all the boxes, but it doesn't check all the boxes if we don't know what we want and if she doesn't know what she wants, and we don't realize that, yeah, we do have expectations in relationship. The easiest way that I frame this, and I talk about this within our KLP group coaching and in one-on-ones as well, is what do you want? What do we both want in relationship together? Do we want safety, fun, growth? How much safety does she want versus us? Financial safety, safety as far as not engaging in sexuality. It's often safe to not go deep into things. It's safer to just say no. It's safer to back away from things. So do we want just safety and consistency? Do we want fun? Some couples start their entire relationship off of drinking and partying, and then, well, how do we transition into the rest of life? Do we still want to be party animals for the rest of our entire life? What kind of fun do we want to have? One person might love to go camping and be out in the wilderness and get dirty. Another person might hate that kind of fun. And so what kind of fun do you want to have? And what type of growth? One person may not want any change whatsoever. They may have their beliefs, and that's their beliefs the rest of time, even if they work against the relationship. Or do you want to grow together and learn new things about each other and explore depth together? And we talk about that in the 3 levels of relationship. So the first level is more of a surface. We just got together, honeymoon phase, caveman, cavewoman. We don't really know much deeply about each other. It's a surface level. It's a body attraction. It's an attraction to money or power or safety. Then we move into modern relationship, quote unquote. This is what therapists teach. This is nonviolent communication. By the way, level 1 is very sexually stimulating. It's polarized. There's lots of sex happening usually, right? Level 2 is not as polarized. Often there's not sex happening. This is the intellect and mind and compromise and building life together, being parents together, paying bills together, the responsibilities of life. So can we speak up for what we want? Can we meet on an intellectual level? Do we feel open to say what we don't like and what we do like? That's very necessary as well. So these levels build on each other. And then level 3 is the beyond just the mind, beyond the body, beyond the mind, to the level of soul and opening heart to one another. And what does spirit mean to one another? What's divine to the both of you? What's beyond just the mind into more of a polarized relationship again, if we meet each other on a deeper level than anyone else has. We practice that. We work on that. Another way quickly to say this is instinctual levels, level 1. Communication, healthy communication is level 2, like a therapist would teach. And level 3 is beyond that, back into polarized sexuality of deep conscious intimacy. So I want to ask Cynthia about these concepts right now. So as a woman, when we first get together, there's this instinctual desire. And like I wrote here, level 1, instinctual desire and safety. And what do you see in terms of unconditional love and the idea of responsibility just on a level 1, right? If we're exchanging safety, if we're exchanging honeymoon attraction to one another, from your woman's point of view, from your professional feminine point of view, where does unconditional love and responsibility come in at a level 1?
Yeah, well, at first blush, you mentioned that honeymoon energy of instinctual desire. And I would say in that energy, it's so easy to tout this feeling of unconditional love because everything washing through a woman's body is telling her this is love. Like, I love this person unconditionally, they love me unconditionally, uh, and it meets all my needs and I meet all their needs, and it's going to be, perfect forever and ever. And then life happens and her shadows come up, and maybe she experiences your shadows a little bit. And if we're talking about level 1, if she feels like that level 1 safety of I'm getting the life I want, the security I want in this relationship, then I can give love. The tougher part at that level is as soon as she feels something that's painful, frustrating, that goes a little bit deeper in her, it's bigger struggle. It feels less conditional for her to open her heart, even though that is a responsibility that she carries in relationship to be open and providing.
So let's talk about this. The opening her heart we talk about in level 3 relationship. So how do you mean that if she has, let's stick with level 1 for a minute. How do you mean that if she has safety and the lifestyle that she wants, that she's willing to what? Have a transactional exchange of sex, be able showing up there. The cave woman is happy to be there as long as the caveman can protect and provide. Is that what level 1 is that you mean?
Yeah, and I would say in a woman's world, even the emotion of love can be a little transactional. I can give love as long as I'm receiving those level one security things. Uh, and she might be used even in her mind, like, oh, okay, I receive XYZ, that equates love. So I give, love to meet that.
Well, I know some men are on that level, certainly. Like, all right, I need to make enough money, and then I can get an ever younger, beautiful. Like, or it's even painful to say because I want to be in relationship. Men are here because they want to be in relationship. So to say, oh, I'll just get a younger, hotter version as long as I make enough money. That's the beat your chest kind of caveman that we see all over the place, right? Are there some women at the gold digger level? I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Okay. So let's keep stepping forward because the point of our call today is we build on these levels even if we're not aware of it. Okay. You get with a woman because of certain desires that you have. She gets with you because of certain desires. You don't know each other deeply when you first get together. You cannot know each other deeply the vast majority of the time. So, level 2, okay. Now we're together. We're past the honeymoon phase. We're starting to have responsibilities and relationship together. So, what is it that, I mean, so let me take a half step back. At a base level, masculinity is about stillness and understanding time and having a philosophy of life, needing to make tough choices, holding the space for her emotions to pour into. You want her to be the moon goddess and reflecting life through her. These are all things that you want as a man. So it's generally more stillness. And at a base instinct level, we're trying to spend as few calories as possible to survive, right? So we want as many things on autopilot as possible, less movement, less brain activity. Beyond that, we're burning more calories. And so that's a fear of ours as a man is wasting our time, not being effective, not being efficient, not being successful. What is it at a woman's base level, Cynthia? So as a man, I want things on autopilot. I want to feel like I'm successful, burning the least amount of calories. What's a woman's base level?
Her emotional world feels safe because at basic level, if she feels safe, she feels like it's safe to love and be loved, then she's not actually worrying about her emotional survival. She's not worrying that something in her emotion is going to break and she's not going to be able to function in that kind of level one world, if not also be parent and providing for another. So you might see a woman get very protective of her heart, her emotions at this level one because she feels like that's the only way to function
Hmm.
and then be on top of a job or be on top of being a parent.
So close down those deeper emotions, those parts of herself that are painful just to survive, basically.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay, so calories and protecting herself. Are we getting an exchange of value? Level 2, can we talk about what we want? Can we communicate in a healthy way without exploding on each other in anger, without shaming one another? This is nonviolent communication, this type of thing. And so, what is the fear? We all have the fear of being not enough, and so, what's our fear as a man in this level 2 is that she's going to get upset. If I say the wrong things, that she's going to get upset and it's going to what? Trigger shame of who you are as a man. This I'm not enough, which maybe you saw earlier on in a relationship, maybe you saw in childhood. And it's the shadow that you're referring to that gets upset inside of ourselves. And so we back away from, I don't want to be shamed by her. I don't want to say the wrong thing. So we start to nice guy life. We start to do happy wife, happy life. We back away from anything that's edgy, which probably is what attracted her in the first place of who you were. We back away from that. What's a woman's fear? What's a woman's shadow at this level 2 spot? What does she often back away from?
Anything that makes her struggle with feeling good enough. So even if a woman really presents herself as always being right or very confident, there is that kind of level two of, am I good enough? Am I accepted by the tribe? Do I have enough attributes that give me some sort of value here? And so anytime that feels uh, like that's being threatened, or even if a man's coming to her trying to have a logical conversation about things and she suddenly gets very emotional or shut down, it's triggering that. What I'm saying, is that considered good enough? Is it being taken seriously? Do I have value, or am I receiving the message that it's the opposite of all those things?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we want to move past just healthy communication. We want this, what you and Jeff talk about, what you, Cynthia, talk about, this level three. Maybe I haven't heard of that before. I don't know what the hell you're talking about when you say deep conscious intimacy, but it sounds good, right? It sounds, it's something that I think that I want. I see it in you guys. I see you practicing it professionally. So what does this mean? So what does deep conscious intimacy mean to you as a professional and a feminine practitioner in this, in a positive way? What does that mean to you, level three? It's polarized again, that's sexual again.
Yeah, I would say initially what it means to me is that I, and maybe even you as a man, feel a kind of some gut wrenching pain talking about these lower levels of a relationship, because they're not hitting what's most important and what I think so many of us want in relationship. So for the feminine at level 3, deep conscious intimacy is awareness that level 1 and level 2 exist in both of us. An awareness that she might come up against her own shadows of not feeling good enough and not feeling valuable, or even awareness in your masculine that there are shadows you bring too, but that there is an ever evolving experience of relationship that her practice is to stay open hearted to. And even if her heart hurts, even if it feels broken in the moment, part of this practice of being in loving relationship is opening and learning and connecting.
Yeah, thank you. Say more about the shadow that might stop her from feeling this opening, this yearning.
This level 3, the deepest fear of a woman is having the heart feel broken, because even in her more instinctual world, that collapse, that utter feeling of being ousted or left or not able to survive can feel like an emotional death to her, an emotional concern that she can survive this. And so the opening is knowing that there's the love in relationship with you. There's the exchange of energy in relationship with you, that even if she feels that, it doesn't equate her demise. It's actually an opportunity to allow in more vulnerability, and even learn through that vulnerability, learn through her own instinctual instincts to close up. Because on the other side of that, when she gets to connect to your masculine and the sacredness of you at this level, the love you have at this level, it is greater and more heart filling and fills her up more than she ever knew possible.
So how does a woman learn that this is such a thing? Is there a natural process that happens? Is there a learning that she has to do in the world to be aware of this level three, the yearning for his masculinity, the desiring for her to continue to open even when she feels pain or when she feels less love in her life, but she keeps opening to that, doesn't close down and shell herself off to that? How does a woman become aware of that, either naturally or otherwise?
Even the stories I hear here of women expressing that they have deep dissatisfaction, it doesn't always make me go, oh gosh, this woman's not showing up in relationship. A woman to feel dissatisfaction to me in relationship means that she's dissatisfied with the level one, she's dissatisfied with the level two, and she's opening and being made aware of some level in her body that there's something more here to be experienced. And that can be awakened so often with you and the work you do. And I see this even with women that are not in primary relationship with you as men, even you going to the grocery store, in the learning that you do, in the heart centeredness that you do, a woman can feel like, God, there's something different here that I've always had a hunch, but never found in a person around me. And that can be a retraining of her nervous system that there's something here that's possible.
So what gets in the way? Judgment of self gets in the way. So as a man, quickly, level 3 to me is practicing detachment from rejection, practicing what are my values? Who am I as a man? How do I want to move into the world? And can I dance with rejection? Can I dance with a woman's shit tests? Can I dance with failure as a man? Do I know that I want to just get up after failure, learn from it? Sure, yeah, I can be disappointed in the moment. I can be angry in the moment, but the less I'm distracted by those emotions and negative stories that don't serve me, the better. The more I can be excited about who I am every day. So judgment of my own self gets in the way. Her judgment of herself gets in the way. Judgment of each other gets in the way. So how do I open? I'm not afraid to feel rejected. I'm not afraid to feel disappointment. I'm not afraid to be let down. I don't want those things to happen, sure, but I'm not going to back away from them. I'm not going to slow myself down because I'm afraid of them. So let's open up to questions. I'd love for you guys here live. I saw a bunch of other guys came in since the beginning of the call. I love that you're here. So in the chat, let's see. Let's start with, is that transactional safety for sex or love? How do you mean? Ask us about that, please. Good to see you.
Same here. So the question is more about, so you were alluding to safety and beauty, right? Or men and female, or male and female, right? And that sometimes is money and sex, right? There's those two. In my experience, it's like the same thing. In terms of energy, is they're on the same level of energy. That's my thinking, right?
Sure, yeah.
But is that love? So is money and sex really love, or that's
Well, no, it's
that?
not, right? So that's the transactional nature of it. I'll take a step to the side for a moment. Love is taking another person or thing in as a part of yourself and wanting what's best for them, whatever that means to you, wanting what's best for them regardless of you. And you can only take another person or thing in as a part of yourself to the extent that you appreciate and love yourself and find value within your own humanity regardless. So if I find zero value in my own self and humanity, there's no way that I can take someone else in an unconditionally loving way, right? And the only real, this is my opinion, the only real unconditional love that really needs to exist is for a child. And that's a survivorship need, right? And children are naturally egoic until about age 8, 9, 10, depending on what research you look at. So before then, they think everything is their fault. And we've all had a lot of messed up stuff happen to us in our childhood. So I took a step to the side. Unconditional love is really apparent for a child in a certain way. Okay. But
Right.
adult relationships have a transactional nature under the hood. I mentioned the gentleman Psych Hacks. There's a YouTube channel, Psych Hacks. He's a doctorate in psychology. He has a PsyD in psychology. And this is his big thing now. And he's got a book coming out about this. He looks at it in a little different way than we do. But that concept's been out there for a long time. If you search unconditional love and transactional love, it's been out there for years. So he didn't coin this. It's just he's become more popular. Okay. So point being, let's build on that. So money and sex and attractiveness, no, that's not what we all would say is love, I think. That's attraction, right? That's desire, which is valid. And that's the point of, let me go over to this graphic really quick again. we do want to feel desire. We feel desirous of our spouse when we first get together with them, right? Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have, unless you've been in an arranged marriage, and in which case that's a whole different conversation. You did have some kind of desire one way or the other, and you did not know the person deeply. So what does that mean? If you couldn't have known them deeply, it was a much more surface level at that time. Doesn't mean you didn't have good intentions. So take us from there. What does that then mean for you if money and sex are not?
I mean, current situation is that there is this, if our lifestyle goes up, then sex goes up. And it's like, is this love, or are we it's level one to me in that, right? Is this love, or this is a very transactional type of scenario? And it's I guess it's my mindset or my thinking about this, right? My view of of this, because in my experience, I never thought of love so transactional, right? So maybe my thinking, and that's what I'm questioning here. Is it really, are we loving each other, or we're in a transactional world?
Yeah, well, I mean, what would it mean if it was all transactional? That would be really depressing, I would think.
Because of my beliefs, right? But I don't know if it's what's reality, right? So it's I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm trying to understand those two, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's great. So what to you is level 3, deep conscious intimacy? What would it look like if it wasn't just transactional to you?
Probably more spiritual.
Mm.
That's the way I look at that level, right? Where you're living a very spiritual nature, a very special spiritual experience of the relationship.
Yeah, and I'll ask you about that. To me, that means every day when I get up and I see Cynthia first thing in the morning, that I'm giving love, I'm practicing the art of love, the verb of love, and I'm leading with that spiritual idea that I'm here to give. I don't wait for her to like give me sex first. I don't wait for her to fill up, me up first, and then okay, now my bank is full enough, or she's sexy enough, or whatever. I don't wait for it. So I start. That's game theory, by the way, guys. Right? We start by assuming positive. We start by giving, and that's shown to be the most beneficial. The game theory is the most beneficial thing to nature that we know of as well. Organisms work that way as well. They go to give first, and they see what the other person's going to give, and then they respond. But to me, a spiritual nature is we go to give first and we practice that art, that skill over time. You're nodding your head while I'm saying this. What else does spiritual nature relationship, what would it look like to you? How do you know you're doing it?
That's a good question. I don't know. But I see your point. I see the message that you're trying to convey here. What are the tangible things that you're doing to get there, right? And it's I think your message. What's the
Right.
message?
Yeah. And exactly what you said. I hope that you think about what that means.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. What level 3 means to you. Good. Yeah. Thank you. Great stuff. Can it breed future resentment? Which were you referring to, please?
Oh, it was just a little. I don't know if we need to have a super deep. Wasn't as much of a question as like a light bulb. If you stay in level 1 or 2 too long with a partner, can they start to subconsciously build resentment around the transactional nature of the relationship? And that's why later on it kind of comes out as this explosive, like, I haven't loved you forever, and here's all the things that you've done wrong. Is because you haven't honored them enough to evolve the relationship, and then they stick in this transactional state and start to get resentful. I was just curious if that.
Yeah,
rings
that's
true.
great. Cynthia's over here like, yeah. So Cynthia,
Don't ask me to comment because it just says things
Okay.
perfectly.
In terms of, so let's say that a woman goes into a relationship and the man wants to have fun. So safety, fun, growth, reasons for a relationship. They can all be there too, but we usually have priorities, right? So at the beginning, he wants to have fun. So she thinks, okay, I'm going to have fun with this man. And I'm really not going to ask for or move toward the safety or growth that I want. And so we start a relationship, or that woman starts a relationship. It's, 9 out of 10 in the fun, and 2 out of 10 in safety, and 1 out of 10 in growth. And then 5 years passes, 10 years pass. There's a couple of kids that happen. And he's thinking, this is not fun anymore. I want to have fun. I want to have fun. And she doesn't feel safe emotionally. She doesn't feel depth and growth. So can resentment happen then? I mean, obviously, right? So talk with us about that. Why wouldn't she speak up for herself earlier? Why doesn't she know this and just tell me? Maybe she's not aware of it. Maybe she doesn't know how to. Yeah.
Yeah, why doesn't she speak up? That's incredibly confusing. I think there's a lot of she doesn't know. She doesn't know how to put words on. The feminine can yearn for things, and the very nature of femininity is to not necessarily be good with words or putting words to an experience. And that that this idea of when I hear like the masculine, I just want to have fun, and that also makes me feel of freedom, like the masculine being free. And then I think later on you can have the woman in his life, the feminine, start to get really nitpicky because it looks to her like her partner gets to have all the freedom or only cares about fun, and then she's left holding all the not fun things, whether or not that's true. And so that's still level 2 stuff. If we go to level 3, that's her angry, resentful, nitpicking. There's something here more to fill me because I feel empty and I feel like this is unfair and something is not being, this idea I had about relationships, something's not happening.
So what would a healthy level 3 expression from a woman look like? You just kind of started to do it. So instead of let's say she wants to go find fun again, so she goes back to level 1 and fucks another man.
Yeah.
Right? That's a very unhealthy back to level 1. I have to have a new person.
Yeah.
The opposite is she wants to be in a relationship. She just hasn't known what she's wanted. She wants to move into level 3 with the man, but she doesn't know what that looks like. So you just said, like, I want something more. How would that look? So a man can understand if she's trying at a level 3 level.
Yeah, and I would say the more of the nagging and nitpicking, that's more of level 2. The level 3 is she doesn't have the words, but she might even use the word something. Like something has to change, or she's trying to share with you an experience. She's really, really trying, but none of her words are being congruent. And that really is the feminine trying to communicate something.
So trying what? She's trying to get what? So a man might think she's trying to get something from me versus what's an advanced level 3 practitioner doing? So a man might come and open love, practice love, not fear the rejection that might happen. Like I was saying, what does a level 3 healthy practitioner do to give spiritually into the relationship?
So she would share her heart in the moment. She would share still what she loves because she's not taking love away. And then she would also share, like, something is causing me pain here, or I'm feeling frustrated here. And I might even say, I don't even know what that means, but she's inviting you into a conversation with her. And again, she's not taking love away through accusation or through threats.
Yeah. It's not like you haven't done enough for me. It's she's feeling pain.
Yeah.
Like she wants something else. You said the word something. Yeah. We moved quite a ways since you raised your hand. Yeah, come on in.
That's all right.
Yeah, please.
I mean, my experience with exactly what you're talking about and that level 3 is, and my wife just mentioned this to me, I don't know, a couple weeks, soon to be ex-wife, mentioned it to me a couple weeks ago. She's like, first of all, she always accused me of not being, that easy to talk to. Like, you're not that easy a guy to communicate with. But then she's also admitted, she's like, I just didn't know how to express what I was feeling. And so, consequently, she just pushed it down. And then later on, she's like, I didn't know how to stop our marriage from unraveling. And that, the unraveling started years ago, which is really sad because it's just like, had I known, which kind of, so everything you're saying is exactly dead on. I mean, it's my story. The other part was all about the safety aspect. Like, that was another thing that she said. She's like, I don't feel safe with you. And I'm like, you don't feel safe? Like, really? Like, wow. But then now I'm seeing a different girl and she's like, I feel so safe with you. And maybe it's just because I've moved on and I've sort of like, learned this, how to make her feel safe. And, but still, I mean, it still hurts to see my wife. And it's like, God, like of 15 years and 3 children, it's like, that's like a kick in the groin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess my question comes in is like, it feels like each one of the 3 levels, it's like, and safety, and then and safety and safety. So like, that's kind of how I'm seeing it, because
yeah, that's really good. So
I don't know.
let's go another level deeper with the safety thing. So Cynthia said the word shadow a couple of times in this call, and we teach this much more deeply in our coaching and things, but let's talk about shadow for a second. So shadow is a part of myself that I don't like, that I'm usually not aware of. So your wife, as you were saying, I don't feel safe with you. Okay, could be our fault. Could be all our fault as a man. It could be partially our fault as a man. But let's say, what's her responsibility there? So Cynthia, if soon to be ex-wife, if wife doesn't feel safe to her own self, her own emotions to her own self, her closure is shameful to her own self, her childhood view of love from her parents is unhealthy, and so she feels shame about that. She doesn't know how to open herself. She doesn't know how to get what she wants, so to speak, so she feels bad about that, and then says, and that all comes out as, I don't feel safe with you.
Yeah.
So say some more about that. And we have that as a man too. I'm not good enough. No one's going to accept me. So therefore, I want a woman to accept all my bullshit, which is really a childhood little boy aspect of us wanting to be loved because we don't really love all parts of ourselves, which is childhood stuff, yada, yada. Okay, on and on. So for a woman who might say, I don't feel safe, how much of that could be her own suppressed not loving herself, not feeling safe about her own emotions?
Yeah. And thank you for sharing. You mentioned it feels like a kick in the groin. And as you were sharing, like, oh, she just never felt safe. Like my whole heart was just ripping, because I'm sure in every molecule of your being, you wanted her to feel safe. I think sometimes what women can do is they have internalized a part of them that like even dumps on their own feelings. And just like Jeff said, they don't even feel safe in their own body feeling it, because there's a part of them that's yelling at them like, you're so weak, put that away, you shouldn't feel this way. And that's a horrible feeling for her to have. It then is a easy way for her to then paint you with the same brush, because somehow you're supposed to be the knight in shining armor that saves her from her own dragon. And Kenna's cycle, like maybe she has a little bit of courage to share, and then she feels like you didn't respond the perfect way, and it's almost like a message she tells herself, like, see, this is not okay. And then she'll just repeat it in herself over and over and find proof for that. And what does a courageous woman do in that situation? She, can see her own self, how she's beating up on herself. She can see in the moment with you that maybe you were being logical, and this just that breaks her heart. And maybe she even shares with you in the moment, like, this is so hard. And she doesn't get the perfect response, but she doesn't take that as proof to be permanently shut down. And she continues to practice opening and inviting.
Yeah. How does that come across, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right, because that's where I got caught up, is I never had the right response. She's like, well, you weren't empathetic enough. You didn't grab my hand and do this at the right time. And that's how it came out. And then I think eventually she just, like it stopped. Like it went from, anything that was even close to 3 to 2 to 1 and then none.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah, that's
the
dead on.
backpedaling into what feels safe with her, which is kind of like nothing feels safe, and now that doesn't feel safe, and that doesn't feel safe, and it's back to, there's some men in the chat that talked about childhood patterns that she may have seen, and your wife or other wives may have only seen a level 1 transactional type of relationship, maybe when communication was just nasty, violent, shaming, and so all they know is, hey, maybe I just need to start anew. Maybe I just need to find another man who can handle me at my worst, and all these things are here. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. We're out of time. If you want to see more of our stuff, if you're watching this on YouTube and you want invites to our free new stuff, our teaching videos, our book that's upcoming, greatmenmovemountains.com/new subscriber. We didn't have a chance in this call to get more into deserve versus worth and standard versus boundaries. We did start talking about that last week in the last video. If you're watching this on YouTube, we will talk more about this next time: deserve and worth, standard and boundaries. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you, Cynthia. See you guys next time.